The Galactic Council was the most powerful organization in the known universe. It had ruled for thousands of years, deciding which species were worthy to join and which ones were not. Today, all eyes were on a small blue planet called Earth. Humanity had sent a message to the Council. It was peaceful, respectful, and full of hope. They asked not for war, not for power, but for a seat, just one seat, at the Council table. They had studied, explored, and advanced. They believed they were ready. Inside the Council chamber, the silence was heavy. Then, slowly, a few chuckles started. One by one, the Council members laughed. Loud, mocking laughter. They called Earth, a child pretending to be wise. A voice from the Gyrac species said, "Humans? They still argue over borders. They still fight over water and air. And they want to sit beside us?" The room filled with more laughter. A few representatives even shared jokes about Earth's history, its wars, its mistakes, its failures. The humans watched the broadcast from their embassy. No anger showed on their faces, no reply, just silence, and a quiet smile from the lead human envoy. Later that night, in a quiet facility hidden deep underground on Earth, a group of scientists and leaders gathered around a screen. They had expected rejection. They had prepared for it. One of them spoke calmly. They laughed. Good. The screen lit up, and a black file opened with glowing red letters. Project Echo Fall. Active. In the days that followed, something strange began to happen. Earth stopped answering calls. Human ships vanished from trade routes. Communication relays returned empty signals. At first, the Council didn't care. Then they started noticing humanity had gone silent. And sometimes, silence is the loudest sound of all. The galaxy moved on, thinking Earth had accepted its place. The Council believed the humans were embarrassed and had chosen to stay quiet. Many even joked that Earth might disappear forever. But something was wrong. Very wrong, and no one noticed it in time. First, small things began to shift. A trade station near the edge of Council space stopped sending reports. Its crew had been mostly human. Then, a science vessel found Earth's solar system strangely quiet. Probes sent into the system returned broken data. It looked like Earth was there, and yet, somehow, not. The Council sent a scout ship to investigate. It never returned. In private meetings, the Council blamed technical issues. But inside, many of them started to feel uneasy. Cyril, a Council observer who had always found humanity interesting, started digging into old records. He noticed something others had ignored. After the Council's rejection, Earth didn't protest, complain, or resist. They simply paused, as if they were listening. He found a hidden message sent from Earth just days after the rejection. It had only 4 words: "We heard you laugh." No one else in the Council took it seriously. But Cyril felt something deep inside. This wasn't over. Meanwhile, across the stars, strange reports surfaced. Small research bases stopped responding. Drones vanished in empty space. A mining colony on an asteroid reported seeing dark clouds moving without wind. They said the stars themselves flickered as if something massive had passed by. But when they checked their sensors, nothing. The Council tried to send patrol ships, but their maps failed. Navigation systems glitched near sectors humans once traveled through. It was like space itself was hiding Earth from them. On Earth there was silence, no response to calls, no public announcements. But under that silence, a storm was building. Satellites above Earth no longer matched old designs. They moved in strange ways, shifting positions without engines. Human technology had grown, but away from the galaxy's eyes. In one scene, Cyril visits a hidden archive. He watches an old human saying, "You only need to listen once to know who someone truly is." He realizes Earth did listen, and they remembered every word the Council laughed. Then late one night, a signal arrives at the Council's headquarters. No code, no language, just a deep pulse repeating every few seconds. Not a threat, not a message, just presence. A quiet knock at the edge of the galaxy's door. Cyrell whispers to himself. They didn't disappear. They went quiet. And now, they're watching. There was something unsettling about how Earth vanished. Not suddenly, but like a candle slowly dimming in a dark room. The galaxy had stopped hearing from humanity, but now they were starting to feel them. In a distant sector near the edge of known space, a cargo ship drifted into port. The crew looked pale, silent, and deeply shaken. They had traveled through a trade route once used by human vessels. Now it was quiet, too quiet. They spoke of shadows that moved without light and sounds that echoed inside sealed ships. Their data logs showed nothing. Instruments had picked up no signals. But every member of the crew insisted they weren't alone. Council leaders dismissed it as fear. Long journeys often caused strange thoughts. Still, whispers began to spread of ghost sectors where human colonies used to be. Places once full of activity, now cold and unreachable. Like Earth had taken its people and simply walked out of the galaxy. Cyrell, still following the strange trail left by humanity, uncovered something the Council had missed. Hidden transmissions, low-frequency pulses bouncing off deep space objects. They weren't meant to be heard, but they were there, coordinated, patterned, intelligent. Someone was talking, quietly, carefully, and only in places humans used to live. Cyrell brought this to the Council's attention, but again they laughed him off. More ghost stories? One leader said. The humans are hiding, that's all. But one Council researcher didn't laugh. She had been studying strange distortions in space-time, near human sectors. She found that something or someone was creating folds in gravity, small but deliberate. Technology the Council didn't have. She whispered, they didn't stop evolving, they stopped sharing. More ships went missing. Mining bases stopped reporting. One vessel returned with its memory wiped and crew in a deep, dreamlike sleep. When they woke, they all said the same thing. We saw home, but it wasn't Earth anymore. Meanwhile, back on Earth, inside a mountain cloaked from all. Scanning tech. A group of humans stood in front of a glowing table. A holographic map of the galaxy spun in front of them. Red dots marked Council planets. Green lines showed silent travel paths. One of the humans pointed. They're watching, but they still don't see. They think silence means surrender. Another replied, let them believe that a little longer. Cyrell, now alone in his research, began to see a pattern. The disappearances were not random. They formed a shape, a path. It was as if humanity was not retreating, but preparing. And this path, it was slowly circling the heart of the Galactic Council itself. He stared at the map, heart pounding. They're not coming to fight, he whispered. They're coming to change everything. And somewhere far beyond, unseen by any eye, a human ship moved without engines, without sound, its surface bending light itself, watching, waiting, closer than anyone realized. The galaxy had grown used to silence from Earth, but now, something had changed. It was not just silence anymore. It was presence, a feeling. Something was in the air. Not loud, not visible. But it was there, like a shadow that moved when no one looked. On the outer rim, a planet named Tarsus 4, a peaceful Council colony, suddenly went quiet. No distress signals, no alarms. Every system was working perfectly. But when a scout ship was sent to check, it found the planet untouched. Buildings still stood, lights were still on, food was still warm on tables, but not a single person remained. As if the entire population had simply stepped away for a moment and never returned. The report sent shockwaves through the Council. Panic started to creep in, quiet and unwelcome. For the first time in centuries, the Council called an emergency meeting. They reviewed every satellite feed, every scan, every log from Tarsus 4. But there was nothing. No enemy ships, no weapons, no sign of struggle, and then came the message. It arrived in the oldest communication format ever used, audio only. No video, no traceable signal, just a calm, steady voice that said, "We are not here to destroy, we are here to be remembered." The voice was human. Inside the council chamber, the silence this time was different. Not amused, not mocking, but uncertain, heavy. One council leader stood and demanded action. "We must respond, this is an insult." But no one moved. For once, no one laughed at the mention of Earth. Cyril, who had warned them again and again, stood quietly in the back. He recognized the voice in the message. It was the same envoy who once smiled at the council while they laughed at Earth's request for membership. That same envoy had spoken only once after rejection, and now he was speaking again. In a hidden Earth command ship, deep in folded space, humans observed every council response in real time. One officer turned and asked, "Should we make the next move?" The commander replied, "No, let them feel the weight of silence a little longer." But not all humans wanted silence. Some believed the galaxy needed a reminder. And so, a second message followed. "Respect was all we asked. You chose mockery. Now we choose memory." The message was short, but it was accompanied by something else, a live transmission, a camera feed. It showed a single council leader standing inside a containment room aboard a human vessel, alive, unharmed, confused. There had been no alert, no alarm, no ship had entered council space. Yet somehow one of their own was now in Earth's hands. The galaxy froze. Speculations filled every network. Was it a trick, a lie, or something worse, proof that Earth had technology far beyond what anyone thought? Back in the council, some members wanted to act. Others wanted to negotiate. But a few finally understood. The deeper truth, humanity had not disappeared. They had evolved in silence, and now, they were not speaking to be heard. They were speaking to be remembered. No one in the galaxy dared to say it out loud, but the truth was becoming harder to ignore. Earth was not the same planet they once mocked. The humans had gone silent, but their silence now felt louder than any fleet, more powerful than any weapon. And for the first time, the council was unsure of who held control. Across the stars, quiet changes began to unfold. Certain travel routes no longer worked the way they used to. Ships that followed traditional maps found themselves looping through endless space, returning to their starting point even after flying straight for hours. Navigation systems glitched only in regions once touched by humanity. And some ships, even well-armed and advanced ones, started seeing strange patterns in the stars, lines, shapes, movements too perfect to be natural. It was as if the stars themselves were watching. In secret meetings, council members spoke in whispers. "Have they bent space?" one asked. "Are they rewriting star paths?" another said. No one had answers, but deep down, they all knew. This wasn't by chance. Earth was shaping the galaxy in ways no one understood. Then came the next moment that broke the Council's illusion of control. A grand fleet was sent to observe the region near Earth's old territories. Dozens of ships, top-tier scanners, experts of all species. They were careful, alert, expecting resistance. But what they found was stranger than anything they'd imagined. A calm, empty zone, silent, still, and bright. As the fleet hovered, all screens went dark for exactly 1 minute. No power loss, no attack, just darkness. When power returned, every ship's internal systems had changed. Navigation maps were rewritten. Messages were left on each captain's personal device. Not threats, not warnings, just a sentence. We no longer move around the galaxy. We move with it. Back on Earth, inside a chamber lined with stars and light, a council of humans watched it all unfold. Their expressions were calm, focused. One of them, an older woman with silver hair, said softly, "They thought silence was retreat. It was learning." In the wider galaxy, those who had once mocked Earth were now silent themselves. Small species, began reaching out to humans not out of fear but curiosity. A few even asked for help, navigation assistance, technology sharing, peaceful talks. And Earth replied, but not through open calls. Only those who approached with honesty were answered. The rest waited and heard nothing. Cyril, the one council observer who never laughed at Earth, was now the galaxy's most trusted voice on the subject. In a meeting, he stood before the council and said, "We ignored them. Now we depend on them, and we still don't understand what they've become." He placed a recording on the table. It was audio from a planet no longer charted, once home to a small human colony. A soft voice echoed through static. "We remember the stars that turned their backs, but we don't hold anger. We simply move forward, and forward means without you." The council was stunned. No threat, no demand, just a calm declaration. And for the first time, many wondered, was humanity still part of the galaxy? Or had they become something entirely new? The stars no longer looked the same. To those who studied the galaxy, something subtle, yet undeniable had shifted. Patterns once fixed in ancient charts now seemed fluid. Lanes of travel bent in ways no one had seen before. Signals moved in and out of range as if they had a mind of their own. Across the galaxy, people whispered about it. The sky is changing, and Earth is the reason. Despite all their power, the council found itself reacting, not leading. For generations, they had written the rules of exploration and technology. Now they were observers, careful, uncertain, watching as the quiet shadow of Earth passed over the galaxy like an evening wind. And then, without warning, Earth spoke again, not through force, not through noise, but through invitation. 12 signals appeared, one above each of the 12 core worlds of the council. They weren't loud, just calm, pulsing beacons in a language so ancient only a few could still understand it. The message said, "You may come, alone, and only to listen." The council was divided. Some believed it was a trick. Others believed it was the final test. But one volunteered, Cyril. He had followed Earth's path since the beginning. "They didn't ask for control," he said. "They asked for respect. We denied them both. Now I will go and listen." Cyril's ship disappeared from standard sensors the moment it entered Earth space. No one could track it. Days passed, then weeks, and just when they feared he was lost, a signal returned. Only audio. A message that made the council fall silent again. He said, "They've built something beyond our understanding. Not just machines or cities, but harmony. A way of living with time, with space, with thought. Their silence was never about revenge. It was about becoming more than we could ever imagine." He paused, then added one final line. "They don't want seats at our table anymore. They're building a new one." Elsewhere, far beyond the borders of known space, massive structures began appearing, shaped like no ship or station the galaxy had ever seen. They didn't broadcast. They didn't move. But every now and then they would pulse faintly in perfect rhythm with one another, as if waiting for something. Or someone. And across planets, moons, and stations, people began to wonder, what if humanity's silence wasn't a retreat, but an evolution? What if the humans hadn't left the galaxy behind, but were inviting it to something greater? One young explorer, staring up at the now unfamiliar sky, whispered what many had started to believe. They were mocked. Now, they lead without asking. And in the great silence that followed, the galaxy finally began to listen.